This story was told by Mr. Boy, who experienced something so terrifying. It changed the way he viewed the world forever. One quiet afternoon in his pest control office in Saraburi, Thailand, the phone rang. The number was hidden. A colleague picked up and heard nothing but wind. It was a strange sound, like wind sweeping across a vast field or a fan pointed directly at the phone. Then the line went dead. 5 minutes later, the same number called again. The same eerie wind. His friend said hello multiple times, and finally, a frail old man's voice slowly asked, "You do termite control, right?" Mr. Boy and his team confirmed. The old man asked them to inspect his wooden house for termites. He claimed it was urgent. The house was located somewhere in Saraburi. With nothing urgent scheduled, they decided to leave immediately around 2 to 3 p.m. Mr. Boyd dozed off during the drive, waking only when they arrived at a narrow entrance with no address signs. Just endless fields of tall grass. They searched for the house, but couldn't find anything marked with number 28, as the old man had said. Eventually, they reached a tiny roadside shack where an elderly woman sat alone. When asked, she paused, then pointed toward a tall tree deep in the grass and said the entrance was over there. They were confused. How had they not seen this path before? The old woman warned them that it was getting late and urged them to return in the morning. Mr. Boy politely declined. They only intended to take a quick look. Driving in, they entered a narrow path barely wide enough for their truck, leaving less than a meter on either side. It took nearly 20 minutes of slow driving through thick, towering grass before they reached a dead end, a wall of tall vegetation. As they stepped out of the truck, they spotted a narrow footpath hidden beneath overgrown grass. Despite feeling uneasy, they pressed on, parting the grass to reveal a barely visible 1 meter wide trail. Not long after, the trail opened into a large clearing, and there stood a massive wooden house, turned sideways so they hadn't seen the front entrance. A dining table and swing sat outside. The sky had begun to darken, casting a reddish hue. They knocked on the door. It wasn't locked. It slowly opened by itself. Inside, the house was decrepit. The furniture was unusable. They spotted 5 to 6 geckos and a disturbing number of snakes crawling around. The ceiling was exposed and birds flew overhead. There was no electricity. Only flashlights lit their way. They explored the single-story home. Dining room, bedroom, closet, chairs. The bed sheets were torn and filthy. They found no sign of the old man. Suddenly, Mr. Boy's friend froze and shined his light toward the ceiling. Mr. Boy looked. There, hanging from the ceiling, was a portrait of an elderly man. Beneath it, rotten fruit and a few old oranges lay on the ground. They exchanged glances. Something was very wrong. They turned to leave, closing the door behind them, only to find the path they had just come from was gone, completely swallowed by nature. The sky had darkened. Their flashlights were no longer enough. Then the birds. From the roof, hundreds began flying out, shrieking. Mr. Boy watched in horror as the house's front door creaked open again. An old man stepped out. He didn't look at them. He walked away slowly, disappearing into the darkness. Mr. Boy caught a glimpse of his back. Panicking, they searched for another way out. Eventually, they found a barely visible side path and sprinted through it. As they ran, both men felt something chasing them. Mr. Boy's friend screamed, "Don't look back, don't look back." They didn't. They ran until they reached the truck. The doors were unlocked, but the keys were gone. They sat in the truck, paralyzed, for an hour. They felt someone circling them through the grass. Mr. Boy saw a head rise above the grass. It was the old man, the same man from the portrait. Terrified beyond reason, they bolted from the truck and ran toward the old woman's shack. But when they arrived, it was a rotted ruin. Walls collapsed, roof half missing. A local truck passed by, honking repeatedly. Mr. Boy flagged it down. The driver urged them in. When they reached town, he said, "I understand. Everyone around here has had something like this happen." They checked into a hotel, showered but couldn't sleep. They didn't know if it was a ghost or something else. The truck, unlocked, still had their valuables. The keys were missing. The next morning, they called the same driver and asked to return. First, they stopped at a market to buy garlands, incense, oranges. At the ruined shack, Mr. Boy made an offering and gave thanks to the old woman. Returning to the path, the truck was still there. Everything inside was untouched, but the keys were still missing. The driver agreed to help. They walked the path again. He warned them, "Walk straight, don't stray." The area was surrounded by swamp. They reached the house. It looked even older by daylight. Gone were the geckos, snakes, and birds. They entered. The door creaked open. On a table, beneath the same portrait, the truck keys sat waiting. The driver immediately bowed to the photo and whispered an apology. Mr. Boy and his friend were speechless. The dates on the photo showed the old man had died years ago. It was him. They believed the spirit had called them. Perhaps he really needed help. They checked around the house. At one post, termites were building a nest. They cleaned it, sprayed the house, and under the bed found an old phone, dead, no battery or SIM, but it had a strange white residue on it. It must have been the phone that made the call. They lit incense and prayed. "We've done what you asked. Please bless our work." As they walked back to the road, the driver showed them something horrifying. With a long bamboo pole, he parted the grass, revealing water. The entire area was a massive swamp. The house stood on a tiny island. If they had wandered off path, they would have drowned. The old man had died in that swamp. His body floated for days before being found. His wife, the old woman, died of heartbreak in that same shack. Locals avoid the area. Any figures seen waving are never picked up. When Mr. Boy asked about the figure chasing them, the driver said his friend had seen the ghost. Its eyes wide and white, flying through the dark. That's why he told Mr. Boy not to turn around. One look could have meant death. Later, Mr. Boy's friend remembered the birth and death dates on the photo and used them in the lottery. He won over 100,000 baht. A final gift, perhaps, from a spirit in need. The entire event happened nearly 9 years ago. That house may still be there, untouched. No one dares enter. Mr. Boy doesn't even remember the way. Only his friend does.